His name is on the depth chart. His face is on the team's social media accounts. His new head coach used the word elite to describe what he sees when he watches him play. His veteran offensive lineman called himself a big fan and said he has been following him since Jackson State. And yet, on the morning of March 27, 2026, with the NFL Draft 40 days away and the most consequential quarterback decision in Cleveland Browns history approaching with the specific inevitability of a deadline nobody can stop, the story of Shedeur Sanders is not a story of certainty. It is a story of two different realities existing in the same building at the same time. Two truths, one official and one underground. One stated and one sourced, one that says he has every opportunity to be the starter, and one that says the organization is not comfortable and change is coming, and if they hit on a fifth rounder, it erases Deshaun. And the question, the specific, uncomfortable, deeply personal question that every person who has followed this story since the 144th pick landed in Cleveland is asking right now is which of those two realities is the one that Andrew Berry is actually operating inside. Because the public reality and the private reality of Shedeur Sanders' future in Cleveland are two different conversations, and the gap between them is exactly where this story lives. And that gap, that specific space between what the organization says out loud and what its sources say to reporters and what its insiders are floating on local radio and what its previous head coach's firing actually signified and what the jersey number change means and what the Shed 2 legendary social media account launch means and what Todd Monken's hiring actually required is the full story. And it starts not with the quarterback. It starts with the owner. It starts with the moment Jimmy Haslam looked at Kevin Stefanski and made a decision. And that decision tells you everything. Kevin Stefanski was fired on January 5, 2026. He had been the head coach of the Cleveland Browns for 6 seasons. He had won the NFL Coach of the Year award in 2020. He had led the Browns to their first playoff win since 2002 in 2020, when they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the entire city of Cleveland celebrated in a way that suggested the drought was finally ending. He had survived the Watson acquisition and the 2 torn Achilles tendons and the 42 starting quarterbacks and the organizational dysfunction that preceded him and surrounded him throughout his tenure. And then, on January 5th, he was fired. The official explanation was performance, 3 wins and 14 losses in 2025, a quarterback situation that never stabilized, an offense that ranked 31st in passing yards, the numbers of a team that had failed, and whose head coach was the most visible target for accountability. Standard organizational decision, head coach fired after bad season, next. Except it was not standard, and the specific way it was not standard is the key to understanding everything that has happened since. Adam Kaplan appeared on 92.3 The Fan Cleveland and said there was a belief in coaching circles that if you wanted to work with the Browns, you had to believe Shedeur Sanders would be a factor in the quarterback decision. There was belief, there was talent with this guy. Yahoo Sports. If you wanted to work with the Browns, you had to believe in Shedeur Sanders. Read that sentence again. Not you should believe in him, not the organization hopes you believe in him. You had to. Past tense obligation, a requirement, a test that every coaching candidate who came through Berea for an interview was asked, implicitly or explicitly, to pass. And Kevin Stefanski, the man who was fired on January 5th, had failed that test, not in a formal evaluation, in the specific, daily, observable way that a head coach fails the test of believing in a young quarterback, by not giving him first-team reps, by keeping him on the sideline until Week 11, when a concussion created the forced opportunity, by not maximizing the specific window that the organization had created by drafting him in the 5th round, with the clear intention of, at some point, giving him a real chance. Kevin Stefanski was fired, at least in part, because he did not believe in Shedeur Sanders enough. That is the specific organizational signal that every coaching candidate who interviewed for the job afterward received. Believe in Shedeur or do not apply. Todd Monken believed. He said elite playmaking ability at the combine. He said sure he can when asked if Sanders could start by opening day. He got the job. The organizational message could not have been clearer. And yet, the same organization that fired the coach who did not believe in Shedeur enough is now generating the specific media environment that it generated 12 months ago when anonymous sources were feeding negative character assessments to reporters and the draft slide was happening in real time. The same organization that established believing in Shedeur as a job requirement for its new head coach is now home to anonymous sources telling Jason Lloyd of The Athletic that Shedeur doesn't watch film and had to be taught how to watch film and doesn't know what he's looking at in coverages. The same organization, both things true simultaneously, the official version and the underground version, the public commitment and the private doubt.
Tony Grossi did a complete 180 on Shedeur Sanders. During the March 24th session on ESPN Cleveland, he said he had turned the corner on Shedeur Sanders and that he thought he deserved every chance to be the guy. Pro Football Network, Tony Grossi turned the corner. 24 hours after floating the idea of the Browns eventually pivoting toward Arch Manning, the LSU quarterback who is not eligible for the draft until 2028, Grossi came back on ESPN Cleveland and said he had turned the corner and that Sanders deserved every chance. A complete 180. In 24 hours, from a reporter who has more sources inside the Cleveland Browns facility than almost any other journalist in the market. That specific whiplash, from floating Arch Manning to turn the corner to deserves every chance in a single day, is not the whiplash of a reporter who changed his mind after reflecting carefully. It is the whiplash of a reporter who received information from inside the building that pointed him in a different direction. One day, the anonymous sources were pointing toward Arch Manning in 2 years. The next day, they were pointing toward Shedeur deserves his chance. Both versions from the same building, both driven by the specific organizational politics of a franchise that is simultaneously committed to Shedeur publicly and uncertain about him privately. Radio host Earl Malden said on 92.3 The Fan, "There is no outside factor that is coming to save the Cleveland Browns this season at the quarterback position. What you better hope for is that our new head coach gets the most out of Shedeur Sanders. This is the reality of the situation." Newsweek. No outside factor coming. Malden is right. Malik Willis chose Miami. Kyler Murray re-signed in Arizona. Tua Tagovailoa went to Tennessee. Every quarterback who was connected to the Browns in the offseason chose a different destination. The free agent market is exhausted. The trade market for veteran quarterbacks is priced beyond what a team with Cleveland's cap situation can afford, without gutting the offensive line rebuild that the entire organization is betting on. ESPN's reporter Daniel Oyefusi said on 92.3 The Fan that Cleveland's most realistic scenario to fix the quarterback issue would be hoping that Shedeur Sanders turns into what his fans expect him to be, the big lead. Hoping. That word, from ESPN's own Browns beat reporter, not from a fan account, not from a social media optimist, is the honest, unvarnished assessment of where the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation actually stands on March 27, 2026. Not confident, not committed, hoping. The most realistic scenario is hoping, because hope is all that remains after Malik Willis chose Miami, and the draft class is weak below Fernando Mendoza, and the salary cap has been spent on the offensive line that was supposed to give the quarterback time to develop, and the development has not yet produced the statistical evidence that resolves the question everyone in Berea is sitting with. Oyefusi said, realistically, the best pathway for the Browns and this current roster is for one of these incumbent guys to take off. And really, you are looking at Shedeur because he's younger and you saw some flashes this past year. That is in an ideal world for the Browns, their pathway to contending in 2026 and beyond. Sports Illustrated.
The pathway is Shedeur, not a trade, not a free agent, not a first-round draft pick at number 6, because the Browns are not spending a first-round pick on a quarterback after spending 2 picks on quarterbacks last year. The pathway is the 22-year-old fifth-round pick from Tyler, Texas, who lost $35 million and is now working out with Browns teammates at a facility in Berea and posting motivation to a social media account called SS2 Legendary that he launched on March 22nd with exactly 1 follow, himself. The jersey number change. That is the detail that the casual observer scrolled past and that the people paying close attention recognized immediately as one of the most significant signals Shedeur Sanders has sent since he was drafted. Cleveland Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders has launched new social media accounts under the handle SS2 Legendary, sparking speculation that he could switch to the number 2 jersey for the upcoming season. Sanders wore number 2 throughout his college career, but the number was claimed by veteran wide receiver DeAndre Carter when Sanders joined the Browns as a 5th-round pick in 2025. With Carter no longer on the team, Sanders is reportedly considering making the switch to his signature number, clutch points. Number 2, the number he wore at Trinity Christian, the number he wore at Jackson State, the number he wore at Colorado when he was setting every passing record in the school's history and throwing 510 yards against TCU and producing the most-watched college football season of 2023 alongside his father on the sideline and the most scrutinized draft process of 2025 in the months that followed. Number 2 is not just a jersey number for Shedeur Sanders. It is an identity. It is the number that goes on the back of his name. And the fact that he is now pursuing it, that DeAndre Carter has left the roster, that the number is available, that Sanders is reportedly considering the switch, is the clearest possible statement of intent that a player can make without holding a press conference. He is claiming his identity. He is saying, with the most personal possible gesture, the number that goes on his back when he runs onto the field, that he is not the 144th pick anymore. He is not the emergency option. He is not the 3rd quarterback on the depth chart waiting for a concussion to create his opportunity. He is number 2, the starter, the guy. The move could also signal his growing confidence and status within the Browns organization as he enters the offseason as the frontrunner to be the team's starting quarterback, clutch points. And the SS2 Legendary social media launch, the accounts that went live on March 22nd with motivational posts and videos of Sanders working out with teammates, including wide receiver Gage Lavardin, the accounts that follow exactly 1 person, Shedeur Sanders himself. That specific detail, the accounts only follow themselves, is not an accident. It is a statement. The same statement as not the noise from everyone else. I am in my own lane. I am not looking sideways at what anyone is saying about me. I am building something. I am building it here. I am building it in Cleveland. And I am building it with the number that has always been mine. But here's the thing that makes this entire situation so genuinely complicated, so much more than a simple narrative of a talented player being unfairly criticized. The doubt is not entirely manufactured. The doubt has a foundation in the actual football, and that foundation deserves honest examination rather than defensive dismissal. Despite spending 2 draft picks on a quarterback in 2025 and having Deshaun Watson with an $80 million cap hit for 2026, Cleveland will be considering adding another veteran or going back to the well in the NFL draft. Both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders started games and showed some flashes in 2025, but with Kevin Stefanski out and Todd Monken in, the offense could be in for a makeover starting with the man under center. Sanders made 7 starts for the Browns as a rookie and held a 3-4 record. The 7-10 touchdown-to-interception ratio was a major negative on Sanders' rookie season with the Browns, Lakers Nation. 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a completion percentage of 56.6, a QBR of 18.9, ranking among the lowest of any starting quarterback in the league last season. 23 sacks in 8 games, a 3-4 record. Those numbers are real. The context, the worst offensive line in the conference, no first-team practice reps until the concussion opened the door in Week 11. The worst receiver room by passing yard total is also real. But context doesn't change the numbers. It explains them. It doesn't erase them. And the people inside the Cleveland Browns facility who are looking at those numbers, who have to make a decision in the next 40 days about whether the 6th overall pick in the NFL draft gets used on a left tackle or a wide receiver, or whether the organization makes a different call entirely, are holding the context and the numbers in their hands and trying to figure out what they add up to. Mary Kay Cabot reported before a game that the Browns were leaning towards sticking with Sanders in 2026, saying she thought he had shown enough traits that there was something to this young man and something worth building on. However, Tony Rizzo reported on ESPN Cleveland that Cleveland now plans on drafting a quarterback. He said the lack of prep or reps definitely showed up. Yardbarker. The pathway is Shedeur, not a trade, not a free agent, not a first-round draft pick at number 6, because the Browns are not spending a first-round pick on a quarterback after spending 2 picks on quarterbacks last year. The pathway is the 22-year-old 5th-round pick from Tyler, Texas, who lost $35 million and is now working out with Browns teammates at a facility in Berea and posting motivation to a social media account called SS2 Legendary that he launched on March 22nd with exactly 1 follow, himself. The jersey number change. That is the detail that the casual observer scrolled past and that the people paying close attention recognized immediately as one of the most significant signals Shedeur Sanders has sent since he was drafted. Cleveland Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders has launched new social media.
2 insiders, 2 different reports, 1 week apart, from the same market, from reporters with the same level of access to the same building. One says they are sticking with him. One says they are drafting a quarterback. Both cannot be entirely right, and both cannot be entirely wrong simultaneously, which means the organization itself is in a state of genuine uncertainty, generating contradictory signals to its own media partners because the people making the decision have not fully made the decision yet. That internal indecision, that organizational ambivalence, is the actual story, not the Jason Lloyd report, not the Tony Grossi 180, not the SS2 Legendary account. The ambivalence, the uncertainty, the specific institutional condition of a franchise that fired a head coach for not believing in a player, hired a new head coach who does believe in him, built an offensive line around giving him time, and is still, 40 days from the draft, not fully certain what the answer is. Adam Kaplan said there was a belief in coaching circles that if you wanted to work with the Browns, you had to believe Shedeur Sanders would be a factor in the quarterback decision. There was belief there was talent with this guy. Had there not been concerns with his character, he would not have fallen past the 3rd round. Yahoo Sports. Had there not been concerns with his character. That clause, tucked into a sentence that is ostensibly about the organization's commitment to Sanders, is the weight that follows him everywhere. The anonymous character concerns that produced the draft slide, the unverifiable, unattributed, unaccountable assessments from anonymous evaluators that cost him $35 million and that are now resurfacing in a new form through Jason Lloyd's sources 12 months later. The concerns that Todd Monken said he was aware of and that he was evaluating for himself rather than accepting secondhand. The concerns that Titus Howard, who has been watching Sanders since Jackson State, who played alongside Deshaun Watson and calls Sanders a big fan, who has no institutional incentive to say anything other than what he actually believes, explicitly contradicted when he said Sanders is a great kid with a lot of confidence and he liked that in a quarterback. Great kid, a lot of confidence. He liked that. The NFL Owners Meeting. The specific event that has NFL ownership paying attention to the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation in a way that they do not typically pay attention to any single team's depth chart decisions. The owners who are in the room, who are watching what the Browns do with Shedeur Sanders, have a specific financial interest in the outcome that goes beyond one team's draft strategy. Because Shedeur Sanders is the most visible black quarterback in the NFL right now. He is the son of Deion Sanders. He has a social media presence that drives engagement at a level that most NFL players 2 years into their careers never achieve. He is the subject of more coverage, more discussion, more debate, more passionate investment from fans than any other second-year quarterback in the league. And what the Cleveland Browns decide to do with him, whether they commit or they draft competition or they trade for a veteran, will be the most watched quarterback decision of the 2026 offseason. The owners know that. The networks know that. The advertisers know that. And the specific signal that Jimmy Haslam's organization sends to the rest of the league about how it handles this specific player, a player who was demonstrably wronged by anonymous sourcing in the draft process, who performed under extraordinary circumstances, who is now being subjected to the same anonymous sourcing pattern that damaged him before, is a signal that the entire league is watching. Number 2 jersey, SS2 legendary. Learn to value the opinions of those who care about you, not the noise from everyone else. 4 words, 1 social media handle, 1 number. From a 22-year-old from Tyler, Texas, who has been told his entire professional life that he is not good enough, and who has responded every single time with the same quiet, settled, specific certainty that the people saying it are wrong. He is in Berea. He is working. He is pursuing number 2. He is building something called legendary. And the Cleveland Browns, whose owner fired a head coach for not believing in him, whose new head coach used the word elite, whose offensive lineman called himself a big fan, have 40 days to decide whether they actually believe what they have been saying, or whether the noise wins again, as it did 12 months ago, on the day of the 144th pick, when the gap between what they said and what they did cost a 22-year-old from Tyler, Texas, $35 million and a draft position he will never get back. 40 days. The answer is coming, and Shedeur Sanders is not waiting for it. He is building it. All reporting sourced from Pro Football Network, Cleveland Today, A to Z Sports, Total Pro Sports, Yardbarker, Heavy.com, 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland. Confirmed broadcast appearances by Earl Malden, Tony Grossi, Tony Rizzo, Daniel Oyefusi, and Adam Kaplan, ESPN Cleveland, and official X posts from Shedeur Sanders. All quotes are verbatim from confirmed public statements and verified broadcast appearances. All information reflects confirmed reporting as of March 27, 2026.